Okay, students, it's time I come clean with you. I'm addicted to DHMO. I've got to use it every day. If I tried to go more than a couple days without it, I feel like I'm on the verge of death. I put it in my coffee. I use it every day. But I'm working on, moderation, DHMO. Remember, DHMO, it's an essential chemical. Just use with caution.
All right.
Hey now.
Mr. Kovacs class. It's Mr. Kovacs class.
You might learn a ton.
It's Mr. Kovacs class.
He's interested too.
It's Mr. Kovacs class.
And he's super cool.
It's Mr. Kovacs class.
Hey, today's the last day really that we're going to, well, it's not going to be the last day, but tomorrow we're going to take a look at our plants, because if you remember, I gave some of them Miracle-Gro and some of them no Miracle-Gro, because the Miracle-Gro company said that they would produce twice the growth if we used their product as directed. So that's what we're testing. So today you are going to do in your part 2, you're going to do the first 3 slides where you're going to RADI your responses. And don't forget, in a slideshow, you have to include pictures along with your RADI answers. Tomorrow, after we measure these guys, then you'll be able to do the remaining 3 slides. So today you're just going to do the first 3 slides. All right? Let's talk about something that people usually have misconceptions about. Let's talk about fat.
Well, hot dog, let's talk about fat.
Fat. Some people think it's a bad word, but fat is an essential nutrient. All right, and basically fat has 2 responsibilities for you. Number 1, it's really essential for storing energy for later. Think about it. You don't have to eat 24 hours a day, because you can store some of the energy in your food in your body. Right? You always have some glucose floating around, and then you have a little bit of glycogen stored in your liver. But then once you've used up that, you can start to use fats and fatty acids as energy storage. And fats are interesting, because fats are basically just long chains of H's, C's, and O's. We call these fatty acids. And there's 2 types. There's the ones where like every C has an H on it. We call that saturated. Every C has an H on it. And then there's ones where not every C has an H on it. And you can see the difference in this picture. The difference is saturated fats are like straight and stiff. Unsaturated fats are wiggly. They're like bent. So those are 2 types of fats. And when you look at, a nutrition label, it usually tells you, here's an example, how much fat is in it, and then it also tells you how much saturated and trans fat. I'll talk about trans fat in a second, but they do this because they're different types of, the 2 different types of fats have different properties. All fats have the most calorie bang for the buck, right? Like, there's always something like 9 to 10 calories per gram of fat. Okay, but there's basically 2 types of fats. Okay, so the ones that you want to look for, or the ones that, when you look at labels, that would tell you that they are healthier for you, or the good ones are the unsaturated fats, the wiggly ones. Okay, because they have these fatty acid chains that are bent, that are wiggly, so they don't stick to the inside of blood vessels, right? Remember when John had his heart attack, he had plaques built up?
first time in his life, the regular beat of John's heart is under threat.
The plaques were full of fats that had stuck. Okay? Those are the saturated fats. Unsaturated fats are wiggly, like think of like olive oil. It's liquid at room temperature. Okay? And so there's lots of different types of unsaturated fats. The ones to be associated with cardiovascular health are the omega-3 and omega-6 unsaturated fats. But yeah, you know, when you're cooking at home, you can always substitute oil for butter. You're still gonna get lipid, you're still gonna get the same calories, you're just gonna get a better nutrient. Saturated fats, we call the bad ones, okay? Because they are liquid, or not liquid, they are solid at room temperature. The saturated fats, along with the trans fats, are the ones that are sticky, right? And if you remember John's heart attack,
For the first time in his life, the regular beat of John's heart is under threat.
his artery plaques were full of saturated and trans fats. Now, right, we said that a saturated fat is this kind of straight fat. Unsaturated fats are wiggly. What's a trans fat? A trans fat is an unsaturated fat, but it's not wiggly. All right, so that's the best way I can describe it, is because even though it's missing some H's, it doesn't have the little bends in it. So it acts like a saturated fat. One way you can tell, because some food companies will do this, it's called hydrogenating, adding hydrogen to oils to stiffen up the fats. And that makes them taste more buttery than oily. I don't know if that makes sense. And so some companies will do that when they make their products. All right, so we got fat.
Well, hot dog, let's talk about fat.
It's not really a bad word. Important part of your diet, right? But there are different types of fats, and some are better for you than others. And that's today's message of the day. Fat.
Well, hot dog, let's talk about fat.